This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Our next guest is joining us on the orange carpet for the very first time. Please welcome real estate expert and coach from Keller Williams La Jolla, Mitch Asa.
There he is, Mitch. What's up, my man?
Not much. How are you, Derek?
Doing very well. Glad to have you here, of course, today on Smarter San Diego TV for the first time, joining us on the orange carpet.
Woo!
Yes.
At number 50, right?
Yes.
We're at number 50, so I made it to the 50th episode. All right. At least you didn't wait till 100 to get me.
First of all, tell us about your role at the Keller Williams office in La Jolla.
Well, it's been an exciting year so far. First, I got married since the last time I saw you. So that's a huge change.
Congratulations,
right?
brother.
Thank you. Hi. And then right after that, I decided to, Billy and I were partners for a while. Love the guy, love the family. And but I think it was time that I decided to move on and start my own thing. So now I got MitchAsa.com going on, started my own real estate business. At that same time, the leadership at the La Jolla office saw kind of my commitment to the systems and the models of Keller Williams, how much I've learned it and immersed myself into it. And they said, you're probably better than anyone to teach our new agents and those agents trying to get into production. So I got tapped to be the productivity coach by my OP, Brian Kane, and team leader, Jeff. And so now I'm the productivity coach at the La Jolla Market Center, helping new agents get their career started, and some agents that maybe have had some trouble starting to get into production. They're meeting with me once a month. We're doing coaching sessions, and it's been awesome. So, yeah.
It sounds like a heavy burden to bear, to be the guy who's responsible for, taking someone from like 0 to 60, right? I mean, that's your job. How are you guys doing that? I know you have a new initiative. I mean,
right.
How are you going to make that happen for these new agents?
Well, again, it's a lot about plugging into the models and the systems, the courses, the trainings that Keller Williams has provided me to elevate my business. And the first thing that really started it for me was this awesome program called BOLD, Business Objective Life by Design. It's a 7-week intense course where you're lead generating every day, you're being held accountable. That kind of propelled me into like drinking the Kool-Aid at Keller Williams, essentially, right? I was like, what is this thing all about? Mind you, I've been in the business 13 years and just kind of assisting other groups, being a buyer's agent on people's team, never really thinking of myself as a business person. And once I tapped into it, it really got me into a business mindset where I'm having conversations about, my profit and loss and what I'm doing to generate leads and where my expenses are going. So now that I've done that, we've got an awesome new thing I think I told you about. Keller Williams is reinventing themselves all the time, and we have something called the Career Growth Initiative. We just rolled it out last week. It's a company-wide platform. Back in 2011, we had what was called the Growth Initiative, which was for our leadership to take on in their own market centers and help each one grow, become more, higher production in volume and closed units. So what they've done now, 5 years later, because they saw the results back in 2011, couple statistics, 2011 to today, the agent count grew, and National Association of Realtors said that it grew 20% over the last 5 years. Keller Williams grew 92% over the last 5 years.
Wow, doubled?
Doubled. And in closed units, NAR says that we grew 40% as a country, in real estate, closed units. Keller Williams, 106% growth in the last 5 years in closed units. What we're doing,
incredible.
It's awesome. And what we're doing is we're taking those models and tools that the leadership have used, and now we're bringing it down to every individual agent, no matter what level of production you are, if you're brand new, or if you're a mega agent, like we have quite a few in our office. And it's going to be basically based on 4 conversations. It's going to be based on appointments, how many appointments you're going on, how many listings you're taking, because listings are leverage, right? That's one of those levers you can pull when you need to ramp up your business. You go get more listings, closed units, and then profit. And really, we start this whole thing by seeing the mission statement of Keller Williams, which is careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. And we want to make sure that everyone's making the money that they need to fund the perfect life. And
what can you tell us about some of those things that successful agents are doing, in this marketplace in particular, which has become, it's red hot, but at the same time, it seems very fickle because, you may have 5 listings one day, well, they're gone in a week, and now you got to revamp. So, what are some of those things that successful agents are doing in this market today?
Well, coming from a productivity coach, obviously my first thing I'm going to tell everyone, right, is your job part in real estate is called lead generation. You have to punch that card in every day for a minimum of 3 hours and make those calls or knock those doors or just go out and have conversations with people. I mean, I know somebody who goes to a Starbucks. He's a Keller Williams agent. He goes to his local Starbucks every day. He puts a little sign out on the table that says, agent on duty. And he sits there looking at properties online, and occasionally, somebody pops over and says, hey, you're a real estate agent. And he does all his business from a Starbucks every morning. I know another agent that's holding 5 open houses a week. That's his whole platform for his business. He closes about 30 deals a year just from holding open houses. Everyone's got to find where their lead generation source is going to come, but the ones that are going to make it through, whether it was back in 2008 when the Great Recession happened, or this shift that everyone keeps talking about, right? Interest rates can't stay down forever. We're going to see the market correct itself. Are you filling your pipeline, your funnel of leads that are going to help you basically storm the winter? Just like any bear has to store for the winter and they go into that cave. We have to do that too. We have to see what's coming up in the market. And right now I'm helping a lot of those agents, fill that pipeline of leads.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting too, because depending upon the market, depends on which side is sort of better to go after. So I remember in the downturn when everybody had listings, they're like, I just need buyers. If I could find a buyer, I got so many houses to sell them. And so buyers agents were really doing well during that time. Whereas now, it's tough to get buyers. You have to spend a lot of time with buyers. If you have a listing, you should be able to sell it pretty quickly as long as your sellers are realistic about what they should sell for. So is there a balance there? I mean, is the smart thing to do to sort of always be 50-50 because you can sort of use that as a hedge against whatever happens in the marketplace, or should you specialize on one side or the other?
That's a great question. I've found that Keller Williams teaches a lot about leveraging. You really want to find what you're going to be best at, because that's where the abundance is going to show up for you. So if you're a closer and you know how to do this presentation, I know your new show, we're seeing a lot of great people win this listing. We saw a lot of great people doing their presentations. They have them down pat, they have the scripts ready, they're going, and they close them, and to those types of personalities, those are listing agents. Those guys are awesome, right? Some people, I lean more towards on the buyer personality. If you look at my profile, I just love relationships. It's kind of how it works hand in hand now with helping agents, right? Get their career started. I really like to help people through people. So here's what I'm saying is I don't necessarily have, maybe as many clients and people that I'm helping buy or selling homes, but if I could train the next generation of agents to provide a great service and an awesome experience in their real estate business, then essentially I am helping more sellers and more buyers, go through it. I think everyone will find a niche in this business, but obviously listings are leverage. So if you can get a listing, that's awesome. You've known me as a buyer's agent on some great teams for a while now. A lot of those buyers that I help put into their first home or their second home or the move-up home, guess what? They're now calling me because they have to sell and they want to buy another house. So maybe I wasn't the listing agent to start, but now I'm definitely getting that return business because I provided such great service at the beginning.
Great point. Yeah. Great stuff. What are we going to find, Mitch, for the agents who are watching right now who maybe want to learn more at mitchasa.com? What are we going to find there?
So we're rolling out the new website for the business. It's the first time I'm branding myself, right? Mitch Asa, your friend in real estate. You're going to see a lot of great things. Obviously, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, I'm definitely here for you, as always, right? Sell lots of houses. But more than that, I really am reaching out to a lot of agents in the industry, whether they're new or they're seasoned or wherever they're at in their career, is about getting to that next level. Really growing that business to be sustainable and to provide a life worth living. That's really the mission statement that all of these classes like Ignite and Bold and MAPS Coaching and now the CGI, the Career Growth Initiative, is basically all geared towards people, what is the profit that you need to make every year to provide for your family, to provide for those vacations, to be comfortable with the house payment? What is that number? And we get that number, and we have this awesome calculator, and we work backwards. All right, well, let's see how much we have to pay in taxes. Let's see how much the business expense is. And then, so that goes all the way down to now, how many appointments do I have to go on every week, right? And that's what we're tracking. We're seeing, we start with the appointments, and everything else will show up eventually.
Great stuff, Mitch. Thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
Fantastic
awesome
stuff.
I'm really happy for all your success with the show and
Same here.
the new show. Yeah.
Same here for you. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is the founder of Military Mutual. Please welcome back Derek Barksdale and his special guest, United States Navy veteran and owner of San Diego Sport Entertainment Center, Diana Ocampo.
All right, welcome to the show. Derek and Diana, what's up? Navy. United States Navy's represented up in here today. Diana, you're doing some really cool stuff, and I can't wait to get to it. But Derek, I wanted to get from your perspective sort of how you found Diana and why you wanted to bring her on today.
Sure. We actually met through a common friend of ours who said it'd be a great idea to do kind of a company event where we can go do a paintball thing with all of our team members and maybe some of our high VIP clients and bring them all together and just have some fun and go shoot each other. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how it is. But I had also been paintballing before, and I do know that it's a way to really bring camaraderie and then also use that competitive spirit that's involved. So we called in for a meeting with her and then found out that she was prior Navy herself, and then she was sharing some different things that she was kind of on the verge with for PTSD and some other different things. So I was like, wow, we got something there. And we've been in touch over the last couple months just trying to synergize some of our different efforts that we have, our nonprofit that we have with Military Mutual Initiative, and what she has with the San Diego Sports Center. So that being said, I just wanted to bring her on and kind of share some of the exciting things that she has in line for her.
Diana, here you are. Now, it's the San Diego Sports Entertainment Center.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the idea is it's not just paintball, but it's also like video games, like virtual reality style, right?
Virtual reality, rope courses, Ninja Warrior type of courses, arcades, Nerf, Splatmaster, low impact. So we have a little bit of everything for the entire family.
It sounds like a young man's paradise. To be honest with you. Is this adults only type thing? Or?
All ages.
All
All
ages.
ages. From the toddlers all the way to grandpa, grandma. They could all interact with each other.
So you serve this country in the United States Navy as well. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
As you as well, Mr. Barksdale. I know I've told you many times, but I still appreciate it. And what is really interesting about what you've done is you've sort of stumbled upon what might be a really good transformative solution for people who have PTSD. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Basically, there was a couple years ago, I had a vet come and play paintball, and he was having a hard time with it. And he was there with his family. He's like, hey, I'm having a hard time. I'm getting images from when I was at war. And by the end of the session, he was like, you know what? It's actually helping me because now I'm hearing the sounds as fun, interactive with my family. So that's kind of where it started. But it's not an official program. It's just something that, I kind of announce it to my vets, and it's like, hey, bring your families here, see how it goes, interact, change that negative view to a positive, and so far so good.
Yeah, that's what basically what you're doing is psychologically reassociating the tactics and elements of combat with your family, as opposed to images overseas,
Correct.
Which may not have been so good. I love this because it's sort of a head-on way to go about it. I can see a lot of people who are veterans liking that approach. Like, let's go right into the belly of this beast, right? Because otherwise, it's something where how do you get away from those things? How do you find a different place? A lot of PTSD stuff and work, and a lot of people doing a lot of great work out there. But a lot of it is, let's not talk about that, or let's, only when we experience it do we need to talk about it. but other than that, let's try to stay over here in the pretty happy place with the flowers and the green meadows. But it'll come back at some point. It's just a matter of time. What you're doing and what people have the ability to do at your center is to be able to change that, transform that feeling from one of anxiety and stress to one of fun and family.
And family, new memories,
That's
reprogramming.
huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
super simple.
This is enormous.
That's exactly what I thought, because being diagnosed with PTSD myself and going through the different therapy that I've went through during my therapeutic stage, first thing they do is they kind of give you exposure therapy, and they want you to go back and mentally go through that position that you were at that point in time. But without the sound of gunfire, or without something that was going on in that same situation that you were in, it's really hard to really put yourself back into it. Plus, you don't want to mentally. So with this, it's associated with something that's fun. They can do it, and then at the same time have those sounds that are there. So I was like, wow, you got it, Diana, this is it. So, she says it's not official, but this is something that definitely has legs and can go into modern medicine in some sort of way.
Well, let me just say it's official. We're making it official right now. It's officially official.
Love it.
This is a potential solution, and I think that, almost everyone in San Diego knows someone who's dealing with this.
Sure.
I mean, I know a dozen plus people, and I wasn't even in the military.
Yeah.
So how many people in the military know people, other veterans, who might be going through this, or family members who always carry part of the all the good things that come with it, and all the bad things, and all the hard things that come with it as well. So I think what we have to do today, what we're really wanting to do is let people know about the center, what the possibilities are, and how all the things that you may have tried before that didn't work probably were nothing like this,
No,
right?
yes, absolutely.
So it's worth giving it a shot,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%. And outside of that, with the PTSD, she has other different things within our organization that can provide things for their family members, and even us adult kids to be, kind of charged up and bring out our competitive juices, and at the same time entertaining. So it's really good. I think it's huge. So I really want to be an advocate of it. Our nonprofit organization is definitely going to try to figure out ways that we can steer, the thousands of people that will be coming across, towards our organization for that.
Yeah, I wonder how, aside from obviously, airing this on television and putting it online for people to see, what are some of the other ways that you're reaching out to the military community to let them know about this?
Well, we have a military program on base. So,
Oh, really?
So we're able to go on base and just kind of distribute our material. With the PTSD, there's, like I said, it's not official, but I wish people would know about it and say, I want to try this. I want to bring my entire family, have a support system, and if something gets triggered, someone's there, someone's there to support them. So.
Sounds of freedom are loud today. Flying close.
For sure.
So we're here.
It's the celebration.
I always tell someone's got something to worry about when they're practicing flying that close. It's a problem for somebody. But I totally agree with you. And so that's awesome. So you somehow figured out how to get on base and let people know about this. And how is that being received when you go and you tell people about it?
It's like everything. It's like when you don't know and you haven't tried it, there's always kind of, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person that has a facility and a
You're
service.
a veteran.
I'm a veteran.
She's a vet.
But it's just kind of, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends that have issues. I have a lot of friends, I talk to the wives and they're like, they wake up in the middle of the night screaming, just very, So I've actually had one spouse come to me and she's like, Diana, I don't know what happened, but since, I don't want to name the person's name, but since we've been to your field, it's changed. He sleeps, he's happy, doesn't drink, and I don't know what it was, but it kind of worked. So that was a couple of years ago, and so that, it's hard for me to kind of say, look, you need to do this, because I'm not a doctor, and again, I don't have the support. I try to go to the Navy hospital, the bubble, and say, hey, let's try to do this, and obviously, you need to know someone. So for me, if we could spread the word and see if we could find the big dog, the yes person that says, let's make this happen, and start a program.
I think clinical research would probably prove right away, that there's an impact there.
Oh yeah.
No question about it. Because also keep in mind that when someone's in that frame of sort of being trapped or locked in to a feeling that they don't like, anything that gives them the slightest bit of hope, even if you're just picking up one straw of hay and taking it from this side to this side at a time, that all of a sudden brings a little bit of hope, and that hope can go a really long way. And knowing that I don't have to feel this way, there is some, I can feel better about this. That in itself is huge. So even if you went and did clinical trials and you found that that's all you were doing, it's enormous. It's just huge. Am I right, DB?
All it takes is just one person. If we can help one person, that's all that matters. And so, we take it baby steps and work from there. So I think that, without question, we have something, with what she has there. And I think it's something that I want to help with. And, not saying that I know everyone, but I do know some people that we definitely have to get this in front of. So I'd hope to, help out whatever capacity that I can.
Well,
Awesome.
We're officially official. This is it. Officially official. We're getting the word out. Diana, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. Great stuff that you're doing. Keep on keeping on. Let me know if you need anything. Mr. Barksdale, as always, great guest. Thank you so much for your work on the
It's
show.
my honor, always.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial-free. Sounds of freedom.
Our next guest is known around here as the Champ for having the most real estate debate titles in history. Please welcome back Elizabeth Story and her special guest, the owner of Captain Hunt Tobacconist in Seaport Village, Harry Hunt.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Champ, Harry, how you doing?
Good.
Great to have you here. Elizabeth, so the future of Seaport Village, a lot of things being talked about.
Yeah.
A lot of things that sound good. Are they good? Not sure, but that's what we're here to talk about today, right?
Correct. So basically the port recently had their meeting, and what's being proposed is a 70-acre development. Currently Seaport Village is 14.2 out of those 70 acres. The port did a request for proposals. They got 11 proposals. Only 6 were deemed to be complete. So what was being presented at the meeting was choosing between those 6 proposals, and we'll talk a little bit about what's in those proposals. And there's this sense of, I've done a community poll of consumers seeing whether they're in favor or opposed to the development, and it was 60% opposed. A lot of people like the charm and the quaintness of Seaport Village. Seaport Village has been here for almost 37 years, and it really hasn't changed much in that time. And there seems to be a consensus that, a little updating and a little bit of fresh cosmetics, if you will, is great, but there is some concern about the scale of the development and the cost of the development that's being proposed, as well as what will that do to people who have, for close to 37 years, kind of like Harry, my guest, run a business down there. And so those are some of the things that, we're wanting to explore here.
Interesting, and that's why Harry's here today, right? You've been there from the beginning, right, Harry?
I've been, almost all of the beginning. The store was started a little bit ahead of me, but I've been an owner there for the last 28 years.
Wow.
And most of us are long-term merchants. The unique thing about the village is it was designed by the Disney design team. So when it opened, it was sort of unique in the world of malls because it was a theme park where you wandered around. It wasn't that you were going there for a specific situation. One of the things that happened was they never had sufficient parking. There was a great deal of discussion that it wasn't going to work because at that time, San Diego was a different city. They hadn't done any redevelopment, and it was a gamble. But it took off like a skyrocket. And one of the things I really want to stress is the fact of the success of Seaport Village was the impetus to bring everything else downtown, the convention center, the gas lamp, and now we have in excess of 50,000 people living in the downtown area. If we had failed, I don't know if any of that would be here.
And it's been sort of a mom and pop
It's
shop
definitely
area,
mom and pop.
right?
It's a place to go and relax. You can wander around. We've got 4 sit-down restaurants, a fast food area, 2 Ben & Jerry's, 1 on each side. if you want ice cream. And we refer to my location as Daddy Daycare because the old man can sit down, have a cigar, and Mom can go shopping.
Well, how do you feel about these different things that are being proposed? Because essentially what it sounds like to me is they're proposing a massive commercialization of that area. Massive.
When you look at the architectural drawings, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming. The big thing that I see is how can the port or how can the city afford to have 3+ years of downtime? All right, one of the considerations is to build a 2,400 car underground garage. That's going to cost in excess of $140 million. But that's going to mean a lot of big trucks, a lot of earth moving, and we have yet to do any environmental impact studies, and we haven't got any coastal approval. That all comes down the road. Right now, we're in a holding pattern waiting to see if the port will give the approval to one of the 6 developers that presented last week. One is sort of like in the front running, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
Well, do you like any of the proposals, or do the other shop owners like them?
The proposal from GAVCON or Prodia basically is the only company that interacted with the merchants to see if there was an ability for us to stay. What the bottom line is what is the rent going to be? What is the cost of the square footage? You know, I think what they're going to wind up doing is giving us another vacant building, and that means a complete total build out. Well, some people may be able to afford that, others may not. And the other side of the coin, to me, which is vitally important, is whether the public will come. You can tell me it's going to be, you know, it's the 8th wonder of the world. They don't show up, we don't make any money. Or if they do show up and don't like it from what it was before, they never come back. And, you know, two people go and tell their neighbors who tell 2 more people, and the next thing you know, we're blacklisted.
It's a risk for sure.
It's definitely a risk.
It could work out well too, though.
Oh, and the flip side of the coin is it could be absolutely astronomical. But see, the big thing is we've somewhat been in the dark up until just recently, so we're all in a state of flux. Yeah, do I want to leave? No. If I have to leave, that's reality. You know, would I like to stay there for another 40 years? Perhaps. I don't think I'll be around, but I can pass it on to my sons.
Gotcha.
And it's a great, relaxing place. I mean, I cannot tell you how great it is to go to work and not have any stress. And interact with people all over the world. I mean, I was talking to some Navy guys in Japan, and I could hear them better than if you called me from across the street. But we have to keep them supplied.
That's right.
You know?
Well, Elizabeth, obviously from real estate perspective, new developments like this tend to help the surrounding real estate values, definitely on the commercial side, residential as well. Do you think the people at Pacific Gate knew something about this, or?
Well, if they didn't, they do now. And I think that's part of the reason, too, why I wanted to talk about it on air today, because I think that, kind of like Harry said, that there's just not everybody in San Diego even knows that this is being proposed, and they don't know a lot about it. What I think is really important is for citizens of San Diego to know what's going on. And Seaport has always been, partially for locals, but also partially for tourists. So it's internationally known, and its charm and what brought people and keeps people coming back. We just need to make sure that whatever is proposed helps incorporate that. Now, there are some really interesting aspects of the proposal. There's some criticism about, the spire. There's several towns that already have a spire. It's not necessarily unique to San Diego. But on the flip side, I'm sure the view would be amazing. And yes, once it's done and people do like it, and if it is a hit and it's done properly, it will increase values. But then you have that nasty little construction period that everybody always, you have to deal with, the trucks, the earth moving. And I'm having a little trouble wrapping my head around how you're going to fit that many cars underground so close to the water. But obviously the experts are the ones in charge of that decision.
A lot of faith when you park your car. That's what it's going to require.
Right. So there's so much in the works. And again, there's 6 proposals, but really only 3 of them were even full proposals. So it's basically choosing between the 3, and only 2 of those that ended up being in the running were even local. So 4 locals were wiped out of the running.
Does something have to happen? I mean, is it dead set that we're going to choose one of these proposals?
Well, the lease is not up for about a year and a half.
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
So in that time, they'll be looking to choose proposals. But, you know, like Harry said, then you've got your entitlement phase, your coastal commission, you got to get all your approvals. And then, of course, you've got your construction phase. And one of the concerns, I'm sure, for all the shop owners is what are they going to do during construction? Are they just going to go out of business or not collect an income for 2 to 3 years? And will they be able to afford the space when they come back? There was only one proposal that included leaving some of the existing retail, but the others don't. So there's really a lot of things at play, and it's just important to really know the facts, and if you have an opinion, to voice it while you still can.
Yeah, start looking into it. I mean, Harry, is from your perspective, is this something? Would you like it to just stay the same, or do you?
I wouldn't mind staying the same. It'd be a lot easier on me. I'm trying to figure out what I do for 3 years.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I was joking, and I said that what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the Iditarod dog trail, open up a cigar store, and sell cigars, snow shovels, and dog food. Right? But that's not really realistic. Realistic is, I'm at an age right now where I don't really need to hang around. My kids could do it. But again, we're back to where do we go for, say, 2 or 3 years?
It's a long time.
And that's without any environmental problems, who knows? I do know that the convention center pumps 1 million gallons of water daily. So if they were able to build that close to the water, chances are we may be able to get something. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know.
Well, you sound very open-minded to it. I would expect you to be vehemently opposed to it. You sound open-minded to it, which I think is great. But we got to look and see what this is really all about.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're doing
here
today.
Well, it's completely out of my control. The port's going to make the decision one way or the other. I can hope that they see the bill and go, wait a minute, this is way too much. Let's rethink this, come back 5, 10 years. Flip side of the coin is they could go full bore ahead, but construction may not be completed until, say, 2023. If there's a problem, maybe 2024. Now, when they have the big welcome back party, I'm sure everybody and his brother will come to the party. But
when is that going to be?
When is it going to be? Is it going to be in the spring? It's going to be in the summer? It's going to be in the fall? Or is it going to be in the winter? Because different facets of the year play differently. The big thing is when the people come, if they're enthralled with what they see, then they'll come back.
Perfect.
Well, one of the things you have to look at is the cost of doing this build-out. I've heard numbers of anywhere from $1.2 to $1.5 billion. So I went back, even though my calculator wouldn't go that high, I just added zeros. I divided a 40-year lease, which would be 480 months, into the $1.2 billion, and that comes up with the village generating $25 million a month for 40 years.
Wow.
I don't see that happening because we have peaks and valleys. During the summer, maybe they can hit it, but if it's the rainy season or it's the off season, if the convention business slows down or doesn't come, everything would become suspect.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. Elizabeth, another
Thank
great
you.
guest. Thank you so much. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is the owner of the real estate inspection company. Please welcome back to the show, Philippe Heller.
There he is. Philippe Heller's in the house again. What's up, brother?
I'm doing great.
Back with some props.
Yes.
Back to educate us more about what you do, the real estate inspection company. Now, you guys, obviously, you see a lot. This is something that has just recently come up where smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detection, the rules have changed, right? The laws have changed.
Yep, there are some new laws and things that we all have to comply with, not even just when you're selling a house, but things that we should all do if we own a house. whether we live in it or if we're a landlord. So we could talk about some of those, but there are some things that we find as the home inspector, we're always the bearer of bad news, so to speak. A lot of agents look at us as the enemy. And I'm here to educate those agents so that they know these things going in, kind of like the pre-listing inspections we talked about. So if they know these things, they're not going to be a surprise.
Right. And when it comes to, when you're doing an inspection on a property, that's typically, a property that's being sold to somebody, if they are not in compliance with these rules, then you have to tell them about it.
Correct.
So what is it that has changed about the old days? Like, I live in a place that's built in the 70s. I know there's a lot of old smoke detectors in there, probably not any carbon monoxide detectors in there. What are the new rules now?
So back in the 70s is when they first started to require one smoke detector in a home, and it was usually located in the hallway. And the idea is that it would wake you up. A smoke detector is not there to protect the property so much as it is to protect life. So they want you to wake up as early as possible if there's a fire so you can get out. That's why bedrooms have to have a window in case the flame's in the hallway. As time has marched on, the location requirements have increased. So in addition to being in the hallway, they found that, well, if the door is closed, the smoke may be starting in one of the bedrooms and therefore doesn't get out into the common area. So then they said, well, we need to put smoke detectors in the bedrooms. However, it wasn't ever retroactive. Only new construction was required to do that. Now, since last year, July 1st of 2015, all houses are required to have smoke detectors in all bedrooms and on each level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So every bedroom has to have a smoke detector.
Yes.
I can tell. I don't think I'm in compliance with that.
Yeah. And this isn't just for houses that are being sold. We're all supposed to do this. And in addition, since a smoke detector only lasts 10 years, that's their lifespan. So yours from the 70s, you could light a newspaper, a Sunday Times underneath it, and it probably won't sound. The sensors go bad, and they just won't detect the smoke. Now, when you go to buy a smoke detector, you'll see that it will say 10-year alarm life. No more buying 9-volt batteries. Those days are gone. You buy a unit with a sealed battery that's good for 10 years. When it goes out, you throw the whole unit away or recycle it. You don't want to throw it in the trash, and you replace it. And there are so many that we see in the course of doing home inspections where smoke detectors don't have batteries in them. They're dead, they're open, someone intended to buy them and they never buy them. And every time we hear a report on the news, the people who were injured in a fire didn't have functioning smoke detectors. So they're trying to solve that problem with this 10-year battery life.
Okay, that is a lot simpler too, let's be honest. I mean, because changing that battery is always a pain in the butt.
Always. They're up high.
They're up high, you got a ladder, and you got to find a battery. Oh, I need to turn it off, and so you unplug it.
Yeah.
Then you forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not beeping at you anymore. Yeah. So that's an issue. Now, so you have to have these smoke detectors in every bedroom and on every level of the home.
Yes.
What about the carbon monoxide?
New law 2, which is not, this is required when you're selling a house, and this is incumbent on the seller. You have to provide these things, kind of like strapping on the water heater. You have to have the straps on the water heater. You also have to have carbon monoxide detectors, and you have to have at least one on each level of the home, preferably near the sleeping areas, again, to wake you up if there is carbon monoxide, because that's when you're most susceptible to being poisoned. So if you have a one-level house where bedrooms are distributed quite far apart, you should have a smoke detector, a CO detector on each side of the house.
Okay. And what's the GFCI requirements?
GFCIs, those are the receptacles that you might see in your bathroom or along your kitchen cabinetry in newer homes. Older homes, when they first came out with ground fault circuit interrupters, they were a breaker inside the panel. My house is built in '86, and that's how mine is. I have to go outside if there's no power in the bathroom, and my wife, I can't turn something on. I have to go outside and reset it. Now it's more convenient. It's the receptacles with the little test and reset button.
Okay.
Believe it or not, that's not retroactive, and this causes a lot of arguments during the purchase of a house where we would note it as a safety upgrade, but it's not required that the seller install them. So if you were going to buy a house built in the 70s and the GFCIs were not required in the bathrooms or in the kitchen, the seller isn't required to put them in. We would recommend that you do it for your own safety and they're pretty easy to install. Now, if you've done any remodeling, you are required to upgrade that. So if we see a house that has brand new kitchen, they've clearly spent more than $1,000 on the upgrade, and there are no GFCI protected receptacles, then it is incumbent on the seller to upgrade it.
So what is the GFCI receptacles? How does that help make you safer?
Sure. I'm glad you asked. Without going too deep into it, it stands for ground fault circuit interrupter, and it is there to detect a path of current that is going from the electric circuit to a ground, and typically everything in the house is grounded through the plumbing system. So if you're in the kitchen and you're plugging in a toaster, and for some reason you happen to be touching the metal sink or the faucet, some electricity, if it's a bad cord or something, could travel through you to the ground, and that receptacle will shut off immediately, protecting you from electrocution. Circuit breakers do not protect you from electrocution. They're there to protect the wires in the house from overheating and starting a fire. But you can still get electrocuted on a common circuit.
Wow.
GFCIs are there to protect you from getting electrocuted.
Wow.
So that's why they're
Did
important.
not know that. I thought it was just for convenience.
No. No.
So you don't have to go to the breaker, but it's not something totally different.
It is totally different. It is not fire prevention, it's electrocution prevention.
Very cool. So everyone should really have those.
You should. You should consider upgrading if you're in an older home. Probably your receptacles are a little loose anyway at this point. The little springs in there wear out, and it's a good idea to upgrade your receptacles periodically. And near wet areas and in the garage, anywhere where there's a fixture, you should upgrade those circuits to GFCI protected circuits.
Awesome. Great stuff. You brought some other cool toys in here today too, didn't you?
I do. I wanted to talk about some of the neat technical upgrades. There are some products out there now, including this one. It's by a company called Nest. It is a combo carbon monoxide and smoke detector. You said your smoke detector is probably 40 years old. This might be a good option for you because it kills two birds with one stone. It detects carbon monoxide and detects smoke. So it would alert you if there are either of those conditions. They have them very inexpensive that you could buy at Home Depot or wherever. This one's a little bit more expensive, but it's also really cool. It connects to your Wi-Fi system. And what that does is you can combine it with this company's thermostat. And since a lot of carbon monoxide is typically generated by a furnace, if the detector detects carbon monoxide, it will communicate with the thermostat and shut off the furnace for you.
Wow.
Helping to reduce the risk.
Smart homes.
Pretty cool stuff that's
Homes
out there.
of the future. I, just on that topic, I mean, how many smart homes are you seeing out there in the inspection world where people have dialed in a lot of these technologies?
Yep.
And is it working? Are they having issues? Because you have to test all that stuff, right?
We do. The biggest improvement we see are new thermostats, and that's simply because people are getting new furnaces, new ACs. They're trying to be as efficient as possible, and thermostats like this are kind of state of the art. You can, driving home, if it's a hot day, you can turn on your AC from your smartphone. And so we are seeing, that's probably the single biggest smart accessory that we see in a home now. We're starting to see more the smart detectors, alarm systems, security cameras, and whatnot that are considered, smart, which means that they're interconnected. You can operate them. Door locks, deadbolts. If you have a delivery or a cleaning person, you can let them in via your smartphone when you're at work.
It's awesome.
And monitor that. So we are starting to see these new products out there.
Okay, great stuff. Well, if you didn't know, now you know what the requirements are. Philippe Heller, thank you so much for coming in today.
Anytime.
Really appreciate your time. And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is the man. Please welcome back to the show former Navy SEAL and veteran advocate, Andrew Paul.
Andrew Paul, welcome, my friend. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, too. Big topics out there going on right now, specifically with the police. You and I have had these discussions off air many times, and police brutality has been a topic ever since what happened in Ferguson with Mike Brown. That's been an issue. We've seen a couple incidents recently that came up where police officers shot and killed potential assailants. And now we're seeing attacks on the police. So I want to kind of go full circle with this with you because, as someone, a former Navy SEAL, who's protected the flag, served the country, what are your feelings basically on what you've seen from the actions that the police officers have taken in these situations?
Well, first of all, I got to say, who am I? I mean, I've served my country. Yes, I'm a patriot because I love my country, but I've never been a police officer. So, to be fair, my opinion, I've never been a police officer. I've never walked in their shoes. And so some of the things that we see from the news don't tell both sides of the story. I have friends who are police officers, so sometimes you don't hear the other side of the story. But these attacks on the police, I think we can all say unequivocally, are horrible, deplorable, and vile, and need to stop. They don't solve anything, and it is plain murder. If you attack a police officer, if I see you attacking a police officer, you can bet I'm going to come after you. Because the police, I've got your back. That's the bottom line. I've got your back.
And I'll second that as well. And I definitely have the police back. And I think here's the thing. For me, this is what I see. When we see one of these incidents, an officer got their gun out, they felt threatened, they felt the need to use it. That officer, I don't believe, woke up that day and said, I'm going to go find someone to shoot today. And if we can at least agree on that, then we can agree to the fact that it was something that happened in the heat of the moment.
Sure.
And when stuff happens in the heat of the moment, sometimes the accidents happen. So it could be accidental, could have been deliberate in that moment that use of force was felt as necessary. But I don't think it was deliberate. These attacks on the police, these are deliberate.
Right.
These are being carried out in first-degree fashion.
That's right.
Very big difference to what's going on here when someone is out there serving and protecting. And by the way, the majority of police encounters do not end up in a shooting.
Right.
I mean, the vast majority do not. But in these incidents, we've seen it. It appears maybe some of these officers are trigger happy. Or maybe, because 99.9% of officers are out there serving their community, doing an amazing job. They care about the community. They're not, by the way, they're not getting paid a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So they're not in it for that. But maybe there is, a bad apple here or there.
Right. Well, I think that's true in any organization. And the reality is that in any organization, you've got people who are racist, who are bullies, who are maybe undereducated, undertrained, and things like that. And look, there are some police officers who were probably picked on as a kid, who finally grew up and got a gun and a badge and said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove them now. And they're probably scared of their shadow. And maybe they do have some racial leanings, but it's a very small percentage. And I'm telling you, I know that police officers in their organizations know who the problem police are. There are problem police, guys who are bullies, guys who have no business being bestowed with the gun, the badge, and the power of the state. And those people need to be removed from our police force because they give the rest of the great men and women who are serving in our communities a bad name.
But is there really a solution to this? Because, it seems like if you have, police are trained in violence, right? They're armed with several things, and they're going into altercations with people.
Right.
They're yelled at a lot now. I'm seeing other videos now where you're seeing the police being abused by other people's freedom of speech.
Yep.
They're being yelled at, they're being called names, and they're just standing there trying to protect the community. So
hopefully they're tough enough that they can take a few name calling.
They're taking it well.
Yeah, most of them are.
But at the same time, when that line gets crossed, now all of a sudden you've got someone who's armed, trained, against someone who probably is not armed, not trained, but has liquid courage or whatever going on, adrenaline going on. They feel invincible in that moment for some reason. At least that's what I've seen. When I see a police video, a shooting video, or resisting arrest, to me, Andrew, when you start, attacking the police verbally and you don't respond to their commands, you've lost your innocence to me. Your innocence has disappeared now because
you have an opinion?
No, because you have an opportunity to yourself make the situation good by simply listening to the police, or at least not attacking them verbally.
Certainly should not attack the police. I agree completely. But you're certainly entitled to your opinion and to render that opinion. And the police should not feel the need to beat you, arrest you for expressing that opinion. And hey, do I think it's wise to walk up and flip off a police officer? No. But it is protected.
Yes, it's true. It's protected. But I haven't seen any of these videos where someone walked up and flipped off a police officer and got shot.
Agreed. All right. This is unwise. This is unwise behavior. That's the bottom line.
What I'm seeing is people who are, have done something wrong. They're starting to get questioned by the police, and then they won't answer the questions, or they won't get out of the car. They won't listen to the officer's commands. But this is a thin line to skate, because when you talk about liberty, which you're a big champion for liberty, it's a really thin line, and it's black and white, I think.
Well, Derek, what I would say is that I think the situation is very fluid. And the discussion that we do need to have in this country is about what kind of liberties and where we want the line to be. How far is a police officer allowed to go in questioning you and requiring that you leave your vehicle, or how long they're allowed to detain you, and things like that for reasonable questioning. Those things have been tried and tested in the courts, and perhaps we need to have another discussion about that on a national level within our country about what rights an individual has. But having said that, you don't have to answer a police officer's questions, and you should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. In fact, a good lawyer would probably tell you, keep your mouth shut until your lawyer's present. And that's just wise. I mean, the policeman's job there at that point a lot of times is to try and figure out what you've been doing wrong. And you may not have done anything wrong, but sometimes the police are looking to get a confession and to make that arrest or to prove what they believe has happened. And so maybe the wise thing to do is to just close your mouth.
It is, but that's not what's happening, though. That's the trouble. So I'm
sure,
and I'm not necessarily blaming the people who've been killed here.
Right.
But
well,
I am saying on the side of the police, I don't think these guys get up in the morning and say, I'm going to go out and shoot somebody.
Absolutely.
I don't think they want to discharge their weapon. I don't think they want to shoot someone. I think it is an absolute last resort, and when for most of them. There's some incidents maybe where that could be questionable. For the majority of them, especially the ones that happened recently, that seem to have spurred the attacks on the police in Dallas and Louisiana, that those were pretty obvious that it was a last resort.
There's nothing that justifies the attacks on the police in Dallas and Louisiana. So it doesn't matter what has happened. That's never going to be okay. Now, as an outsider looking in, again, never been a police officer, so it's messed up to Monday morning quarterback in a lot of ways. But as a gun owner and somebody who feels the need at the appropriate time and place to carry a weapon for my own personal safety, you have to weigh what that responsibility is. When you carry a gun, for example, just because you have a gun on your person doesn't mean that you should go to that and pull it out in every situation. So some guy confronts you in the parking lot because he thinks you scratched his car. Do you pull your gun out? No, that's a horrible idea. Why? Because you've just escalated the situation and limited your options. And what I observe a lot of times is that just from the video that I see police officers drawing their guns very quickly. And I think that escalates the situation and then limits their option to the point where the only response they have is to then pull the trigger. And my question is drawing the gun always necessary? Because what it creates is an environment, and I've heard people say, of comply or die. So it's get out of the car. Well, do I have to get out of the car? Well, I'm going to draw my gun, and now it's get out of the car or I'm going to kill you. I mean, comply or die. So get out of the car or you die. Because if I pull a gun out and point it at you, Derek, I'm threatening your life.
It's a pretty serious move to make.
If you pull a gun on me, you've threatened my life, and I would be well within my rights to pull a gun to defend myself. How could anybody's reaction be any differently to that than a cop pulling a gun who doesn't even understand what may be going on, number one? Number two, when that police officer does draw his gun and the person reacts, maybe because they're scared or they don't know what's going on, or now what options does that police officer have? Very rarely does that guy reholster that gun and go to a baton at that point. They just pull the trigger. That's the reaction.
Well, we're all taught, and they're well trained, that if you point your gun at someone, it's because you're ready to pull the trigger.
Well, it should be the reason.
Right.
I was always trained, you never point your gun at something that you don't intend to kill or destroy.
I think they're trained that same way. So, I mean, I think you're right. That probably is something that could be looked at, a protocol for maybe, how to go down the line of this is what you do first.
Right.
If you really feel threatened, maybe go to the baton first, maybe go to the mace first, something else, because they have options.
Yeah.
But you're right, a lot of times they do go straight to the gun. And I think it's because of how people feel when they encounter the police. Mm-hmm. Tell us, what you think about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, we're breaking apart a discussion. So don't lose sight of these things that I'm saying, that I love our police and I support the police. And I'm telling you, I have the backs of the police officers. But when you're Derek, when you're driving down the highway and all of a sudden the blue lights come on behind you, is your reaction, oh, the police are here. I wonder what they want. No, your reaction is, what just happened, right? I mean, most people, when those blue lights come on behind you, it's a guttural reaction of, oh crap. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, people's adrenaline starts to go up. They start to wonder, what went wrong? Did I do something wrong? Was I driving too fast? It's not a reaction of, oh, the police are here. He must want to see if I'm okay, right? And so if that's just what happens to the average person when the lights come on behind them when they're driving down the highway, what do you think happens when 5 or 6 of them roll into an inner city neighborhood with their guns drawn? What do you think? What do you think these young kids' reactions are? We've lost the peace, we've lost the trust, we've lost the relationship inside those communities where these struggles are happening. So we need to address that.
Yeah, how do we build that back up? But you're right. If a police officer knocked on the door to this studio right now and walked in, I would definitely have a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, why
They
is
hear
that?
from me, what happened? Is my car get stolen? Is everyone okay?
Right.
All those things come in because it is a very intimidating thing.
And they're meant to be that way.
Correct.
A lot of them dress and present themselves in an intimidating manner so that they can take control of the situation. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but you have to recognize what the natural human response is to that. And are we escalating and inflaming an encounter, or are we de-escalating an encounter?
Do you believe that there's anything that can be done, or what would you do if you could make an overhaul, sweeping change to what's happening with police out there in the streets? Is there anything that you would do?
Well, to be honest, I don't have all the answers right now, but I think part of it is having this discussion. I think there needs to be more interaction, though, with the police and the communities that they patrol and where they police. And the relationship has to build. The trust has to build. And right now, we do not have that, and that is a problem. Murdering and killing of the police is a problem. The way in which the Black Lives Matter folks are feeling oppressed by the police, the degree to which it is legal or not legal, I don't know. I'm not in there myself, but clearly there's been a breakdown of trust that needs to be addressed. And if effective policing is the goal, then I would think that the police would be open to more dialogue with the members of those communities.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Andrew Paul. Thank you so much for coming in today, man. Really appreciate it.
Great to see you, man.
Great to see you, too. Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go. Angela? Nikki?
Yeah, I gotta go beat traffic. And I think Nikki's making something up there.
Look at this. We did this. We did all of this.